Welcome to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we talk with county leaders, discuss the latest news, and share all things concerning our home here in beautiful Sonoma County, California. I'm your host, Matt Brown, Deputy Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma, in for Paul Gullickson. Thank you for joining us. Today, we'll be talking about the criminal justice system here in Sonoma County, and we have as our guest Carla Rodriguez, the Sonoma County District Attorney. But before we get to our interview, I want to start with today's trivia question. Our question is this: what local entity operated from a table on the sidewalk outside a collapsed building on Hinton Avenue in downtown Santa Rosa after the 1906 earthquake? And as a bonus question, what was the collapsed building? If you know, call us at 707-565-2242 or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. If you are correct, you'll be entered into our weekly drawing for a chance to win one of our new limited edition SoCo Chat mugs. So with that, let's get on with our discussion. Welcome, Carla. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Matt. Nice to see you.
You too. And who have you brought with us today?
So this is Miranda. She is our original comfort dog at the DA's office. We have now 3 comfort dogs. Darla, who's also a black lab, and Lucy, who's a golden lab. Miranda's kind of in retirement mode / on strike, but she does accompany victims to court. She'll sit with them in the waiting room, and she provides comfort to not only victims, but witnesses and sometimes our staff.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
we love her.
We're happy to have Miranda here too, and thanks for bringing her.
Sure.
And speaking of victims, this is Crime Victims' Rights Week, right? I know there's a lot of events going on. So you are the top prosecutor for Sonoma County, and you're in the news a lot for prosecuting those suspected of crimes, right? Sexual assaults, drug sales, robberies, those sort of big issues. But you're also, your office does a lot more than that. So let's talk about what's going on this weekend. In fact, there's an event this Saturday.
Yes.
At Santa Rosa's Courthouse Square. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So the event is Saturday afternoon at the Courthouse Square. I think we're going to be there around 11 o'clock. We'll have activities, face painting, performers, and resources available to honor victims of crime. It's National Crime Victims Awareness Week. The government and the statute and the Constitution of California all recognize that crime victims have very important rights. They need to be respected and honored throughout the process. And so Tatiana Lopez, who runs our Victim Services Division, has organized tomorrow's events. So I'm really excited about it.
And why is that so important? Why is recognizing crime victims' rights such an important thing to hold a whole event around?
So I know from my own 27 years as a prosecutor that crime victims are sometimes overlooked in the criminal justice system. And the legislature recognizes that they have been impacted and that we need to treat them with the utmost respect. They deserve to be repaid for their crimes. They deserve to be treated with dignity and honesty. So we really want to remind everyone, especially in this day and age when criminal justice reform is going on, that we don't forget about the victims, the ones who have been harmed by these crimes.
Well, so speaking of that, what does your Victim Services Division do within the DA's office?
So they assist with outreach. So if we get a police report from a police agency for whatever kind of crime, anything from vandalism to murder, they will reach out even before sometimes we've filed a case, let them know that the victim has rights under Marsy's Law, which is the California Constitution. They provide them with resources. They start getting paperwork ready for the Victims' Compensation Board. And so basically just get the process going. They'll the victim advocates will tell the victim, what to expect and what the process is, what the next court dates are. And so really to help the victim navigate the very difficult the criminal justice system, how to navigate that process.
Sure. I mean, I assume if you're a victim of a crime, you've already been traumatized. It's really hard to navigate that process on your own, to going through that whole criminal justice system. So I'm sure that that's a very helpful
It's
service.
scary. Yeah, it can be
Yeah.
really scary. They help get restraining orders. They help, um, make sure that they get restitution, that they get paid back. So they perform any number of functions, all towards the end of supporting the victim and trying to make the victim whole throughout the process.
Yeah, and just talking about victims' rights, we can't not talk about the Family Justice Center here on just over there on Mendocino Avenue in Santa Rosa. Can you explain some of the services that are offered there at the Family Justice Center?
Yeah, so the DA's office kind of is the umbrella over the Family Justice Center, and that was designed. Uh, Whereas the Victim Services Division is post police referral and in anticipation of criminal charges being filed in court, the Family Justice Center is a resource for people who aren't at that stage yet, but who may be experiencing any kind of family violence. And that means domestic violence. We see a lot of elder abuse victims, and that includes elder fraud and physical abuse, human trafficking, labor trafficking, and sex assault. So that's over on Mendocino. They're open from 8:30 to 4:30, I believe, every day, Monday through Friday. If you go there, you meet with a navigator who helps you um, kind of reach out to all the other resources available at the Family Justice Center. So there we have legal aid who can help you get restraining orders or do other legal issues that you need to do. Um, we have Catholic Charities that helps with immigration issues and homelessness issues. We work with the YWCA that helps with the domestic violence scenario. They have a shelter available. We work with Council on Aging that has resources for elders. So we have all these partners. Ruthless Kindness helps with the animals. So they perform weekly vet check-ins at the Family Justice Center parking lot occasionally and throughout the county for survivors who need those services. So basically, all one-stop shop under one roof for our survivors of family-related crime or trauma.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
such a great service for that for those people.
yeah.
Can you let's shift gears, and I wanted to talk a little bit about another one of your major initiatives. Since you were elected to office in 2022, you've overseen a major campaign to raise awareness about the dangers of opioids and especially fentanyl. This included radio ads, print ads, even a large billboard on Highway 101. A lot of people saw that. Why did you? What led you to launch this big marketing campaign?
So before I got elected, our office applied for and received what's called the Innovative Prosecution Grant. It was a federal grant designed to combat fentanyl because, as we know, or as most people know, kind of before the pandemic, fentanyl use really hit Sonoma County hard. I'd say we started seeing it in 2018, 2019. And the number of deaths that went up every year from opioid overdose skyrocketed. I think we were at maybe 15 deaths in 2017, and then we were over 100 deaths by
Mm.
2021. Our office tracks deaths. There's a fentanyl group that works with the coroner's office, sheriff's office, and we see about 2 deaths every week from fentanyl overdose or opioid related overdose. Usually there's more than one substance, that a person's using. So we had a chunk of money left over in the grant, and so we entered into a campaign with Press Democrat and Amaturo Sonoma Media, and we did a radio campaign and print ads as well as a billboard with both of those entities. And I think we got the conversation going. We talked to several mothers who had lost their sons to fentanyl, really got the dialogue going. So
Yeah.
I think it was successful. I'd like to continue it. Our grant has run out.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to
So
ask, were there good results, and are you going to continue that campaign?
I will. So we do have money available through the opioid settlement litigation that the county has received. I'm hopeful that we can use some of that money towards awareness. I definitely got dinged during the campaign for some of the more flavorful radio awareness pieces that were on our website. So I learned from that.
Well, there were dramatizations, but they still got the conversation started around fentanyl. So how did you respond when you got that criticism?
Well, when I initially got the criticism, I responded like, I can't believe that you're criticizing me for this. But, I understand that we don't want to fear monger. So I totally get that. We don't want mothers to not take children to parks. We don't want people to live in fear in their closet. I'm pretty sure the guy from Amateur Sonoma Media who created that demo, it was actually never aired on the radio, but the one that created that
Sure.
demo,
This was a radio ad that was a dramatization about
a girl in a
a
park who
fi-
touches it, and then
finding fentanyl in a park. Did raise awareness,
it,
obviously.
it had
Got people
happened
talking.
it had happened in San Francisco, so I think he'd
Yeah.
heard about that and you know used that for the demo. So yeah, next time we will either say this is a dramatization or you have to touch your mucus or your eyes or whatever that there has to be some kind of touching other than just touching the substance itself. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson.
Right. But it did get the conversation started, at least the whole campaign, and you saw some positive results.
Yes, very much so. We have increased traffic to our website. People are talking about it. The legislature is definitely aware of the fentanyl epidemic, and although I feel they could be doing more to address make it more, make the punishments more severe for trafficking fentanyl. They are making some efforts to address it, so that's good.
That's great. I want to shift gears and talk about something else your office is dealing with: consumer fraud and scams. They're especially against elderly residents. They're prevalent and becoming a big problem these days, especially with new tools like AI people can use to manipulate voices and fake phone calls, and with misinformation rife these days. So what is your office doing to protect residents against these kinds of scams?
So we have what's called the ECLD unit. It's our Environmental Consumer Law Division, and so some of the attorneys there. Bye, Miranda. Some of the attorneys there are assigned solely to consumer fraud. So we have a hotline. So we try to keep track of what the latest scams are because they come in waves. So when COVID was happening, we had a ton of COVID-related scams, like here's free vaccine or free COVID testing materials. Lately, we've seen there was the bail bonds one. We've seen different trends. So we just try to keep those publicly available so anyone can go to our website at the DA's office website through the county and check the consumer protection page and see what's happening right now.
That's great. That's very helpful, I'm sure, for helping protect people from these. Um, what are some other issues that your office is dealing with that you're dealing with currently, or you anticipate coming up in the near future?
So we started a wage theft unit. Wage theft is basically the unlawful taking of wages, not paying wages, withholding tips, and other failure to pay an employee for work that's been done. And wage theft is prevalent. I learned a lot about it when I was campaigning because I talked to so many people, either from the farming community, agricultural. We have domestic workers, we have construction workers. I mean, all industries were telling me about the issue of wage theft, and I never really heard about it.
Which is where people work and their wages are withheld or they're not paid for their work. Is that essentially it?
Exactly. And it's not very, I don't think there's a Law and Order episode about wage theft, but it's real. And so the legislature at the same time passed a law making wage theft punishable as grand theft felony. And this was while I was campaigning in 2022. So I said, well, this is a sign. All these people are talking to me about it. Legislature happened to pass a law, which they haven't done in years, to make something more criminal. So we're having a resource fair symposium on June 21st at the Epicenter, and it's free.
Okay. Epicenter in Santa Rosa.
Epicenter in Santa Rosa.
June 21st.
June 21st.
At what time?
8:30 to 4:30.
Great.
And it'll be a wage theft symposium, and we're going to have survivors of wage theft. It leads to labor trafficking frequently. So we'll be addressing wage theft, labor trafficking. We have survivors. We have local resources, legal resources, case examples, and case studies. So just kind of to get the conversation going with our local partners so that we're all on the lookout for that and people know when to report and how to report.
Excellent. I wanted to ask you about you. You have one of the few positions in the county that's elected by the voters of Sonoma County. You were elected in 2022 to your first 4-year term. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you rose to this position.
So I've been an attorney, a prosecutor since 1997. So it's a long time, 27 years. I was hired by Mike Mullins back in the day. I did work at several other offices, either as an intern or a law clerk. And I worked in San Mateo for a period as a deputy district attorney. So I've seen how other offices work. I worked for free in Napa as a DA. They let their volunteer attorneys do trials, which was incredible. So did a couple trials in Napa, and then I've been here a very long time. So since then, I've done the domestic violence assignment. I did elder abuse for years, which was a very satisfying assignment. I've done homicides. I've done sexual assaults. I've worked in our environmental unit. I've done consumer fraud. I've done juvenile. So I kind of have bounced all around the office and grown up there. I was 25 when I started. So I've seen a lot. And then Jill was retiring, Jill Ravitch. And I looked around and I was very concerned that, someone that didn't know how our office worked or didn't have the same values of protecting victims and public safety that I had might run. So I said, I'm going to run. So there we go.
Great.
And it's a 6-year term, only this term. So in 2022, the legislature passed a law that all sheriffs and DAs who were elected that year would get a 6-year term, and then it's going to revert back to 4 years in 2028 to loop us up, to link us up with the presidential election, increase diversity in voters, and have better voter turnout.
Good. Thanks for that clarification. Good to know. Yeah.
My husband was terrified when he heard that.
6 years. Yeah, right.
My kids will be 22 and 21 when that term ends.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get a lot done in that time, I'm sure.
I hope so.
What you've done a lot in your career so far. What do you like best about your current job?
I love the office. I love the people I work with. It's an amazing group. Everyone from the 2 ladies that work at the front desk to the attorneys. We have 50 attorneys, about 90 support staff. I've known them all for years, and everyone gets along really well. Everyone cares about the mission, which is supporting victims and holding criminals accountable. So we all believe in the mission. So it's just a great place to work.
Wow, that's great. Well, I wanted to ask you one last question, and this is something we ask most of our guests. Whether it's a hiking trail, a restaurant, or maybe just a spot in your house, what's your go-to place that you like to go for just to really appreciate living in Sonoma County?
I love my backyard, my patio. We live in Windsor, and it's it's a beautiful wooded area, and I just love sitting on my porch with my dog, and sometimes I get my kids to join me. And we'll play a board game, and that's like my happy spot.
Nice. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming,
Thank you,
Carla. We
Matt.
really appreciate that.
Always
And thank
nice
you
to
for
see
bringing
you.
Miranda. She's maybe off camera, but she's still here. It's really nice to have you. And as a thank you for being our guest, we'd like to present you with our SoCo Chat
Nice.
podcast mug. Maybe we'll have to get a SoCo Chat water bowl for Miranda for any other service animals we have on here. But
She would love it.
that's great. And for our listeners, if you would also like to give you a chance to win one of our SoCo Chat mugs for answering our trivia question. As a reminder, our trivia question today is, what local entity operated from a table on the sidewalk outside a collapsed building on Hinton Avenue in downtown Santa Rosa after the 1906 earthquake? And as a bonus question, what was the collapsed building? If you know the answer, call us at 707-565-2242 or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. Submit your answer to today's SoCo Chat question, and you'll be entered into our weekly drawing for a chance to win one of our new SoCo Chat mugs. Also, if you have comments or questions about this or any other segment, or have suggestions for a future topic for a SoCo Chat discussion, please email us at that same address. That's publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. Thank you all, and we hope you continue to follow SoCo Chat on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. See you next time.